Due to work in a physical therapy session for a shoulder issue, architect and happily married man Evan Weber, Keanu Reeves gets the house to himself and his dog Monkey for Father's Day weekend while his wife and kids go on a family-planned beach trip. In order to relocate her sculpture to an art exhibition, his wife Karen Ignacia Alamand, a successful artist, puts their assistant Louis Aaron Burns in charge of it. Evan is alone in his luxurious home, working on graphics for a current home project. Genesis Lorenza Izzo and Belle Anna de Armas, two young women, arrive that evening and knock on his front door. They explain that they are looking for a party's address but that the taxi driver dumped them down since their phone died. He then opens the door. Evan lets them in so they can use the internet and contact the party's host because they have no other way of getting in touch. Evan offers to call an Uber driver for them after they locate the correct address, but the nearest driver will take 45 minutes to get there. The girls settle in while Evan plays some of his vintage vinyl recordings from his days as a disc jockey in the background. The topic of human polygamy rapidly comes up during their discussion, and they tell Evan about their professions as flight attendants and how they have sex with a different man in every location they visit. They later vanish into the restroom, and when their chauffeur finally shows up, a wary Evan discovers them there, naked and lusting over him. Evan is outraged and attempts to get them to leave, but as they start putting pressure on him, he caves and joins a threesome. The next morning, Evan discovers them eating breakfast and watching Family Feud, completely unconcerned about departing. Since they haven't taken the cab, he runs out of patience and offers to drive them home. When Evan comes back inside, he discovers that his wife's sculpture, which Louis was intended to acquire for the gallery, has been damaged. The girls admit they are underage when Evan threatens to call the police, demonstrating their power over him or risking accusations of engaging in sexual activity with a child. A friend of Karen's named Vivian, Colleen Camp, calls to see whether Evan needs assistance. Vivian, who believes Evan is having an affair with Karen, storms out when she sees Genesis. Evan, who has just realized that everything the girls said was a deception intended to entice him into bed, tries to make sense of the situation. They acquiesce in and consent to being escorted home when Evan threatens to file a break-in report. He abandons them in the posh neighborhood where they ostensibly reside. When Evan gets home, he cleans up the mess and makes an effort to resume his work. He hears a shattering noise just as he is about to finish his endeavor. He investigates the sounds since he believes he is alone inside. Genesis knocks him out with one of his wife's sculptures after the man discovers a damaged picture frame of his family. Evan is restrained by the two evil women while they search through his family's possessions. Belle gets up on him and pretends to be a schoolgirl while wearing his daughter's uniform. She tries to awaken him. When Evan initially declines, the girls threaten to FaceTime his wife while he is making a lewd gesture. Evan finds this repulsive, but he knows if he moves on the bed, he can break free, so he goes along with it. He gets semi-raped by Belle, and unbeknownst to him, Genesis documents the entire incident. A little while later, Evan freed himself, jumping at Belle and knocking her to the ground. He charges Genesis, who uses a fork to stab him in the injured shoulder. She then holds him down, and the other girls use an electrical line to tie him to a chair. Louis shows up later, to pick up the sculpture Karen had given him to take care of. Using Evan's phone, the girls text Louis to let him know his niece and her friend are staying with them. Evan is kept secret in a room. Using his keys, Louis enters. When he discovers the damaged artwork, he panics and recognizes right away that the females are lying about knowing Evan. Then Louis discovers Evan bound to a chair, but he is unable to assist him since he can hear the girls shattering the damaged sculpture. When he realizes they have his inhaler, he experiences an asthma attack while running to stop them. In an attempt to retrieve his inhaler after the girls played monkey in the middle with it, he slipped on a piece of the sculpture and fell to his death, hitting his head on the edge. Genesis and Belle create a crimson sculpture out of Louis's corpse and bury Evan in a temporary cemetery they dug in the backyard. They also let him know that they had been watching him for several days. He makes many unsuccessful attempts to call for help and leave the house. Only his head is visible above the earth when they tie him up with a hose and bury him in the hole. Genesis plays the video of Belle and him having sex that she earlier took on Evan's phone for him to see. She posts it to Evan's Facebook page as he watches in horror. In the end, they decide against executing Evan the same way they killed Lewis and instead choose to spare his life. The two evil women eventually leave and take the dog monkey with them, leaving a broken Evan to his fate in trying to dig himself out of the hole he is buried in while watching the uploaded video and the comments coming in. They finally admit that everything had been a game, and that they're used to tricking fathers into this kind of situation. When Karen and the kids get home, the house has been completely destroyed. Evan's youngster utters the words, "Daddy had a party," as Karen and the children are still in silence.